So pretty much all mothers in existence in the history of mothers have probably yelled at their children at some point.
So the other day I was scrolling through my newsfeed when I came upon that really powerful Rumi quote.
Raise your words, not your voice. It is rain that grows flowers, not thunder.
And I found myself nodding and agreeing with that. I felt real truth in that statement. Yes. And then I started thinking, but how do we do that? Because that's often where we get stuck. We feel the truth in these things that we see and hear from other people, but how do we actually achieve that? And so that's what we're going to talk about in today's video. So how do we raise our words and not our voices? And the first thing that came to mind is what works for me. And that is when I feel that urge to yell, there's a few things going on and we'll address them in the video. So the first one, when you've reached the point that you need to yell, there's probably anger within your body for some reason. And anger has a purpose. And the first thing to do is get clear on what is your anger telling you. This is a really important key. Instead of just being scared of your anger or ashamed of your anger, find out what its valid purpose is. And generally, the fact that you're feeling angry is there is a need of yours that is not being met. And the anger is giving you the signs that these needs are going unmet over and over. And the longer that you do that, the more the anger is going to build. So you want to understand what need isn't being met. And it may be the need that you don't feel heard. There's an example of a need. It may be the need that you feel for control, that you feel out of control in the situation. So just check in with yourself and find out what need is not being met that's creating this anger in my body. And the second point, the fact that you've got the anger in your body means that you want to find a way to move the anger through your body consciously. It's when we dam it down and it leaks out unconsciously because we can no longer hold it down that we create the damage, that we yell, that we say things that we don't want to say. So how can we move the energy consciously through our body? Okay, so how do we move anger consciously through our bodies? Instead of damming it down. When we allow it to flow, it can pass through. It can pass through in a non-harming way and without really creating a lot of turbulence when you let it flow. It's when you dam it down and push it down and refuse to acknowledge it that you create those eruptions and that unconscious expression. So how do we do it consciously? Well, there are a lot of ways that you can do it consciously, but we're going to share two with you here. So the first way is turn and actually look at it. Instead of being scared of your anger, instead of pretending you're not angry, instead of denying the anger, stop and allow yourself to feel it. So we've already talked about just getting clear on what need isn't being met. The next piece is just really allow yourself to feel valid in your anger and allow yourself to feel it in your body. What does it feel like? Where do you feel it? All the things that's going on. Allow yourself to really sit in anger just for a couple of moments and acknowledge it. And even that acknowledgement, you'll feel it start to move. If you add breath to that, just take some nice deep breaths as you do it. The breath will help move the emotion as well and just clear it. And you just need to get to a point. If you're in the moment, you just need to get to a point where you've released enough pressure off the top that it's not going to explode out of you. So you release enough of it to let it flow so that it's not driving you.
And even if it's slightly uncomfortable, I think of it like giving birth, where it can be really intense. But when you can just be with the intensity and acknowledge it and feel it, there's some power and some magic in it. It's the same with your anger. When you can just be with it, sit with it, even though it's something that may be feeling uncomfortable, that there is some joy in that experience of allowing it to flow.
You don't have to get lost in it and you don't have to wallow in it, but often we deny it and that damns it. So don't deny it, turn around and just allow yourself to feel it and acknowledge it. It's there.
And then the second practice is to ask yourself any of these three questions. One is, if this anger had a sound, what would it be? and then you can express the sound of the anger. And when you ask yourself that question consciously, it's not going to be a yelling at your kids. It might be like just a roar or a
groan,
a wail. It could even be like a
hiss.
I don't know, a boo, or like a wobble. I don't know if I want to do that on the...
I was going to say, you've so got to have bloopers for this one.
Okay.
Yeah. Can I say something there? Okay. The key is you're not making the sound at another person, you're just expressing the sound.
You're just letting your anger have a voice from within. And then the second question is, if this anger had a movement, what would it be? And that's where some people like to stamp or dance it out or shake it out.
Or shake their hands.
Or even go for a run around the house, something like that. And the third question is just a more general one. It's, how does this anger want to move? And it might be to cry, or to take a deep breath, or it might be to have some sound or some movement. But whatever happens, works best for you. Some people do express themselves verbally a lot more, or physically, or there might be some more subtle ways. But it's just checking in with this anger, which is, it's kind of a life force. It's moving. How does it want to express so it can move through you?
Okay, so the goal here was just to allow that anger to move through you. And that's the first step in raising your words, because you're raising your own energy and the space that you're in by lifting yourself out of that anger and allowing that to flow enough that you can come at it from a different space. And so the second part of this is then, how do we raise our actual words that we're choosing to use? And probably the easiest technique is to bring it back really consciously and clearly to yourself, to what authentically you're feeling and you're needing. So often when we feel the need to yell, there's a lot of you do this, you do that, you, or I need you to do this. And you haven't gotten back to what you need. So I'm feeling really X, Y, Z, and I need A, B, C. And when you bring it back to that, people can hear you and your children can hear you. When you yell, what you do is you trigger in your children the fight or flight and the fear response in them, and that shuts down their ability to learn, that shuts down their ability to hear, that shuts down their ability to connect with you. And if all those things are missing, your message is not going to get through and you'll yell more and more and more. So raise your words by being authentic and clear about what is going on for you, what you're feeling and what you're needing.
So when you really express your truth to them, when it's what's really moving for you, it's what's really there underneath all the words that can come out very loudly, then they will feel it. No matter how old they are, actually especially children often feel it. If it rings true, if you're speaking your authentic truth, it will land, because it will feel true. And that's where your words are raised. They're raised vibrationally. And when they're raised vibrationally, they actually speak louder than physically loud words. And before you can be authentic with them, you first need to be authentic with yourself. So therefore it requires you take that space to check in with yourself, to really look at what's really going on for me underneath all the expectations, the projections, anything that is wanting to be blurted out, and having that space to tune into what's really going on for you and then sharing it.
So the takeaway and the practice from this video, unless one of the other points calls to you most, but the one that we're recommending that you take is, when you feel the need to yell, raise your words by being authentic about what is going on for you, what you need, what you want, and what you're feeling.
Raise your words, not your voice. And until next time, goodbye.
Bye.
Okay, everyone just pretend this bit's before this bit.
Yeah. So how do we raise our voices? No. Don't raise our voices. Say that again.